सबसे पहले तो हम यही समझना चाहेंगे कि जिस तरीके से सिचुएशन फिलहाल ग्लोबल सेंटिमेंट्स हैं और भारत में भी जो स्थिति है फिलहाल की पर्टिकुलर जो रियलाइजेशंस है उन पे थोड़ा सा असर आता हुआ दिखा है। तो यहाँ पे शुरुआत करते हैं, कैसे देख रहे हैं आप और कितनी जल्दी या कैसे ये स्थिति को सुधरते हुए आप आने वाले वक्त में देखेंगे?
हाँ, गुड आफ्टरनून। सो अभी जैसा माहौल है, हमारा रॉ मटेरियल फीड स्टॉक सिनेरियो आप देखोगे तो अभी काफी कुछ करेक्शन हो रहा है लास्ट अबाउट 2-3 वीक्स में। तो ये काफी अच्छा है फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ऑफ कंज्यूमर डिमांड। वी ओनली होप दैट दिस सस्टेन्स एंड because suddenly the sort of high commodity prices have resulted in the demand being not so robust. So we do expect things would continue in these lines and the consumer demand does start picking up well. फिर आगे जाके मेरे ख्याल से ये क्वार्टर होने के बाद शायद जुलाई अगस्त में काफी कुछ पकड़ में आएगा in terms of how we'll end this year in terms of volume growth.
ठीक है सर, अब थोड़ा सा हम समझना चाह रहे हैं जो हमारे एबिटा पर एमटी हैं उसको आप कैसे कंपेयर करेंगे जिस तरह की सिचुएशन है अभी फिलहाल और मार्केट के भी सेंटिमेंट्स के हिसाब से, क्योंकि ऑलरेडी हमने देखा कि एक अच्छी रिकवरी फोर्थ क्वार्टर में हमने देखी थी, उसके बाद यहाँ पर क्या वर्कआउट हो रहा है, कैसे देख रहे हैं सर आप इन सिचुएशंस को?
पहले तो हमारा जो गाइडेंस है EBITDA का 16,000 to 18,000 rupees per metric ton, we would probably end towards the higher end of the guidance that we have given of 16,000 to 18,000 rupees per metric ton. Our full year last year was almost 17,500 rupees per metric ton. But more important is our volumes kaisa grow hoga, that is important. And that's why I said given these very mixed signals we are getting from the market and the not so very robust demand situation, we probably would want the demand to pick up well. And with the way things are developing now, we expect that to pick up in the second half of this year. We're keeping our fingers crossed. We hope that the geopolitical situation also gets resolved and would start reflecting on getting the very high commodity prices down, which is very essential for any market, more so our market of home and personal care.
Okay, definitely. Sir, we have already passed on a major cost. हमने पहले भी इससे बात की थी आपके, और जिस तरीके से अभी सिचुएशन है, अभी यहाँ से आगे और पास ऑन करने की ज़रूरत आपको लग रही है या यू आर कंफर्टेबल राइट नाउ? अभी जो भी लेवल्स हैं हमारे इनपुट के, उसके सामने हम जो भी लेवल पे कॉस्ट पे बेच रहे हैं वो सही हैं अभी फ़िलहाल की, और आपको लग रहा है कि थोड़ा सा और बढ़ाना पड़ेगा, हमारे रेट्स को पास ऑन करना पड़ेगा?
नहीं, अभी आप देखोगे तो we've been always passing on price increases, but obviously with a lag of a quarter, because you can't be passing on price increases on real-time basis. But the challenge now is with the way the crude prices and vegetable oil prices are correcting, the more important job that we have on hand is in terms of managing commodity risk, because we need to ensure that our risk positions are managed well. Because abhi to, the way things are reversing, it's important that we are able to ensure that our prices are current in terms of the way the market is moving downwards. So managing risk, because the volatility hasn't gone away, it's come down, but then the volatility is only increasing. So the challenge essentially is to ensure that we manage our risk positions well, and our team is pretty alert in terms of ensuring that that is well managed.
ओके, तो यहाँ पर भी हम थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखेंगे। अच्छा सर, अफ्रीका, मिडिल ईस्ट, टर्की, इन सब की बात करें थोड़ा सा, क्योंकि टर्किश लीरा में ऑब्वियसली बहुत डिप्रिसिएशन है, आप यहाँ पर कैसे देख रहे हैं सिचुएशन को? क्या असर आता हुआ दिख रहा है यहाँ से जो हमारा बिजनेस है उसको?
हाँ, so Africa, Middle East, Turkey volumes obviously have been a concern because last year we degrew by almost 15% in Africa, Middle East, Turkey. And with this sort of rising commodity prices, it's impacted the African markets the most in terms of high commodity prices. We do see that that this challenge continues. So we hope that things start getting better. But that would happen only if the commodity prices start getting corrected, and food inflation is kept in control, because for African markets, food inflation is a very critical issue. Once that starts getting taken care of, we would see the demand coming back. But as of now, yes, we do see that is a challenge, and we hope things would get better from the second half of this year.
ओके, इसके अलावा सर डिमांड सिनेरियो कैसा है ओवरऑल, जो भी हमने चैलेंजेस की बात की उसको देखते हुए, और पर्टिकुलरली वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ जो है वो थोड़ा सा फ्लैटिश रहा है एक्सपेक्टेशंस के सामने, तो इसके आउटलुक के बारे में भी थोड़ी सी चर्चा करते हैं सर।
So if you see our volume for the first 9 months last financial year grew pretty well, but then the major reversal in volume growth that happened in Q4 is what took our overall volume growth to a flattish level last year. This tepid demand situation continues, and it is not as robust as what it was same time last year. So, and that obviously all of us know the reason. It's because of the way the commodity prices have gone up significantly. So, which has impacted consumer demand. Because of the disposable incomes that have got impacted at the consumer end because of food inflation. So yes, this year it will be too early for us to comment as to what will be the sort of volume growth we'll have this year. But yes, we probably will have to wait for this quarter to end and get some hang in terms of how the year will end in terms of volume growth. It'll be too early for me to guide on what the volume growth would be for this year, although we have been guiding the market on a 6 to 8% volume growth. We do hope that we are able to be at least at the lower end of the guided range of 6 to 8%.
ओके, नेक्स्ट सर थोड़ा सा फ्रेट रेट्स के बारे में बात करते हैं, बिकॉज उसमें भी बहुत फ्लक्चुएशंस हुए हैं इस साल। यहाँ से अब थोड़े से रेट स्टेबल होते हुए आप देख रहे हैं, जस्ट बिकॉज कि क्रूड भी हम देख रहे हैं थोड़ा सा अब ईज ऑफ होने लगा है, भले ही शुरुआत हुई है लेकिन फिर भी, और फ्रेट रेट्स में भी थोड़ा सा इश्यूज था, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में भी इश्यूज था, अब थोड़ा सा वो भी सॉर्ट आउट होने लगा है। आप कैसे देख रहे हैं सर?
So there are two things. One is in terms of freight rates, the rate of increase has got normalized. So it started coming down in some sectors, but not significantly. It is nowhere near the pre-COVID levels. There is a long way to go, and we do expect that things would start getting better because the overall global demand seems to have also got impacted. So that would have an impact in terms of the global freight rates as well. But more importantly is in terms of availability of containers, both incoming and outgoing. And that challenge, although lesser, but still continues, it is still something that we need to manage well. That's also because of the way, China tightened in terms of their lockdown that they announced for almost 2 months in major of their provinces. And that certainly led to a lot of containers getting clogged, in the Chinese ports. So that's getting resolved now. We do hope that we don't have any further events happening to, mess up this sort of a recovery we are seeing. So more importantly, rather than the rates, what we are looking for is a turnaround in terms of the availability of sailing slots as well as containers. They are improving, but still some way to go. But yes, it's certainly better than what it was, say 6 months back.
ओके, डेफिनेटली। इसके अलावा सर हम देख रहे हैं कि जो खास थोड़ा सा लीड टाइम है पर्टिकुलरली अभी थोड़ा सा हाई रहा है, जस्ट बिकॉज कि हमने थोड़े से सप्लाई साइड के इश्यूज देखे थे रॉ मटेरियल्स के। 2-3 हफ्ते के थे ये टेन्योर सारे, वो 2-3 वीक्स से थोड़ा सा कुछ कम हुआ है ये टेन्योर जो है वो
कम हो रहा है. So if you look at say from Southeast Asia, still there is some way to go because most of the problems in terms of the Chinese recent lockdown has impacted Southeast Asia majorly. But yes, it is getting better. We've also seen things getting better into Europe and into Mediterranean ports. But the major challenge continues to be the Asia Pacific into Africa, Middle East, Turkey, which is critical for our Egypt business, and also with Latin America. So Latin America, the challenges continue in terms of both the freight rates and the availability of sailings and containers. So that's something that needs to get much better. US is certainly improving. Even the local availability of trucking is improving. We do hope that this improvement sustains.
ओके, डेफिनेटली। तो ये भी एक इंटरेस्टिंग एनालिसिस है, हम ध्यान रखेंगे सर। और साथ ही साथ मैं पूछ रहा था कि आने वाले वक्त में जिस तरीके का सिचुएशन है, चाइना प्लस वन थियरी जो है वो काफ़ी अच्छे से सारे मोस्टली कंपनीज को वर्कआउट किया है। अब यहाँ से आगे क्या, चाइना का सिचुएशन कैसे देख रहे हैं आप सर? क्योंकि पोस्ट कोविड बहुत सारे इश्यूज हैं जो चाइना ने फेस किए हैं, वहाँ की कंपनियों को प्रॉब्लम्स हुई हैं, भारतीय कंपनियों को और यहाँ से ज़्यादा क्या फ़ायदा हो सकता है, नंबर 1, और दूसरा कि चाइनीज़ कंपनियों को और क्या क्या चैलेंजेस आप देख रहे हैं आने वाले वक्त में?
So China may see one was the dual control policy that they brought in even before the COVID lockdown, which resulted in many of their units not being allowed to operate. So that's good from a environment perspective. It's also reshaping the global supply chains. But what's important also is that when we need to be taking advantage of this gap that has been created by China, we also need to be doing it in an environmentally compliant and friendly way, which is important. And people who are well prepared in terms of their environmental footprint and their governance framework will certainly be able to reap the rewards of the way the global supply chain is being reshaped, with many of them wanting to be moving out of the dependence on the supply chain in China. Having said this, but China does have a lot of leverage in terms of the way most of the countries depend on China for many of their starting raw materials and intermediates. So it's important that we need to ensure that China functions well. They're able to serve the global demand well, as we also move towards seeing as to the gaps that are created by China vacating some space, how we can take advantage of it in a very sustainable way, because it can't be something that we do in a very short-term basis and then long-term sustainability is under question, because the environmental footprint is not going to be right in terms of whatever we end up doing.
ओके डेफिनेटली। और सर दूसरी एक बात ये भी समझनी थी कि ये जो थियरी वर्कआउट हो रही है, अच्छे से हो रही है, ग्लोबल सेंटिमेंट्स अभी भी वैसे ही हैं जैसे पहले थे कि अब और एक ऑल्टरनेटिव होना ज़रूरी है, या फिर ऐसा कहें कि जो ट्रांजिशन पीरियड है परसेंटेज के हिसाब से वो थोड़ा सा और भारत की तरफ ज़्यादा आता हुआ दिख रहा है चाइना से?
Certainly, that's what we are hearing in terms of various, the way the even government of India is incentivizing, the way they are also working in terms of supporting the chemical sector, in terms of, we've also been representing in terms of coming up with a PLA scheme for the chemical industry, so that we are able to have the right capacities for the building blocks, which is very important, and are able to then take advantage of this particular situation in a very sustainable manner. So the global sentiments essentially is every person over the last 2 years, the way the supply chain has been impacted, is looking at a good alternative. And India is something that everyone is looking towards. But yes, we need to, in a very responsible way, leverage on this opportunity. And I think the government also is doing a good job in terms of coming up with the right policy framework. This certainly, I don't see any great this thing in the short term, but medium to long term, certainly this is something that we need to watch out for. And this is the time that we should take advantage of the opportunity that has got presented to us.